Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down. Back, everybody. It's Kevin, joined again by Mike and other Kevin.
And in the famous words of Schwarzenegger, glad to be back.
Oh, good segue.
Yeah, we're here to talk
Good
some more
one.
about, like, this isn't even a cult action movie. This is like one of the Mount Rushmore, for me,
Absolutely.
action movies. Like a touchstone, changed the game
Sure.
type action movie. I like this one more than part two, to be honest. Like I feel like part two is almost just a remake. It's the same story as this one with better effects, but it's less original.
Yeah, I remember you saying that before, and I'll take T1's great, Terminator's great. I'll take T2 any day. T2 I can just like watch like on loop, right?
T2
Really?
T2 is visually awesome, but I will say I
Yeah.
feel like the stakes are heavier in T1.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm
Well,
just
it's
like, how are they going to beat this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is like it's the same plot, right? It's like, oh, a good guy and a bad guy came back from the future, and they're trying to erase John Connor's existence. Like it's this,
Yeah.
But you had the liquid metal, you had the T1000 though, and that like
Visually amazing.
changed up the
Yeah.
CGI game.
I don't
yeah.
know. It's like if you're a carpenter and you build a box for the first time versus you build a box for the 10th time. Like that 10th box is going to be better than that first box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what are you trying
that's
to
why I
say?
look
So
at it.
every successive Terminator has been better than the one before it?
No, not true. I'm not saying that, but I am saying
Ooh.
I'm saying T2 is the 10th box.
Okay. And it was like they're both, but I feel like they're both sort of perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just different. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like your kids probably. They're different, but you love them both.
I don't want to take
Yeah,
us
no.
off on a tangent, but you mentioned the Mount Rushmore of like action movies. I don't know if you've done that before, but I'm curious what you would have on that Mount Rushmore.
Oh,
Mm.
I'll give mine. So my top four, I would say, is Aliens, Die Hard, this, and The Road Warrior.
Road Warrior's good.
That's my top four. I think I think about it a lot, more than any person should think. What are yours, Kevin?
That's a tough
Yeah,
that's
it
a
is
tough four to like. That's a tough four to counter because I think I
there's
would
a lot
for sure.
of others. Like there's a lot of other contenders though that are right there. I feel like that are also like valid choices.
Yeah, I think I would 100% have to agree with you on Die Hard and Aliens. Like that's for sure up on there for me.
I can tell you my top two,
Mhm.
which is Road Warrior and one movie
Yeah.
that doesn't get a lot of love. You ever see Dread? I think I've told you about
Yeah,
it before.
you always talk about Dread. It's great
I
though.
love that movie.
Oh, the one with Carl
Urban.
The one with Carl
Mhm.
Urban.
Yeah.
Man, you
That's
want to
solid.
talk about a good movie. I mean, it's kind of like, I think, The Raid, where they're stuck in a
Yeah,
a
it's the
building
same
and they
type
have
of
to-
plot, but it's
that is
excellent.
that is a great movie.
And you know what? If we're thinking like newer type movies, Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road is like
It's a good movie.
amazing. As is maybe the first John Wick.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's
Crazy.
so tough.
Like, there's
Like,
a lot
so
of
many.
there's a lot of good ones you
There's
could
so many,
mention.
man.
I mean, what about Predator?
I
Yeah.
would put Predator up there. I think.
Yeah, Predator's like right there, I think, on the fringe.
That's a really hard list, man. I don't even know if I could tell you my top 5
I
rappers.
should have put
right?
guardrails on it. I should have stuck with just the 80s action movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the old school, like that golden era.
Yeah.
I'll try to catch us up a little bit with what's going on with the plot. We've got the Terminator is come back from the future to 1984 to try to kill Sarah Connor, and Kyle Reese has also been sent back from the future to try to protect her. So they've got into a shootout in the nightclub. They got away, but Sarah and Kyle got captured by the police, taken to the station. The Terminator got damaged, but he's gone to sort of regroup, get new weapons, and he's going to come back to kill Sarah because basically that's like his one and only reason for his existence. So right now, Sarah is at the police station being told by the police officers that she's perfectly safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Not true.
Okay.
All right. So Silberman walks out of the precinct just as the Terminator walks in.
Oh yeah, we're picking it up on like probably the iconic moment, right, of the movie. I love this.
Okay, so
Silverman was getting a beep on his pager.
Yeah, that's what distracted him as he's walking out?
Yeah.
So Silverman walks out of the precinct just as the Terminator walks in, right? Terminator tells the desk sergeant behind the glass that he's here. He's like a friend of Sarah Connor's, right? Which is kind of funny. Like he says it in such a monotone voice, right? The sergeant says, and this is again, they don't have like be on the lookout for this guy. Like his picture or a sketch of the Terminator should
they were
be
eyewitnesses
up on that
from the
wall.
nightclub. They should know what he looks like.
I know. I got real hyped about that, but
no, you're right. You're right. He should be as sought after,
absolutely,
as anyone in the city.
More. It probably more than Reese,
this
right?
desk sergeant though, seems like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's like he's about to retire, and
yeah, this is probably his last day.
He's about to retire tomorrow.
This is my last day.
He's like,
he should have said that.
I could just make it through
when
the night.
Silberman was walking out. He's like, congratulations on your retirement.
That's the parallel movie I want to see. It's just that guy's like blasé last day, and then he just gets drilled.
And the Terminator walks in.
That reminds me, I forgot on the Mount Rushmore, another one just on the periphery is the first Lethal Weapon.
Ooh, I was going to say, what if that desk sergeant was like, I'm too old for this shit. As soon as like the Terminator walked out or something like that. So Terminator walks in, he's asking for Sarah, and the desk sergeant basically blows off and is like, yeah, she's giving a statement. Terminator's asking her all these questions. Where is she? Look, it may take a while. If you want to wait here on the bench or something, you can just sit over there, right?
The dude was kind of a dick.
Yeah, he was being, Again, it's his last week, right?
Yeah.
See, he's too old for this shit.
He doesn't care anymore. What are they going to do, fire me?
So the Terminator, like, they do this, like, really close-up shot of the Terminator's face, and he's, like, looking around. And then he probably says, I don't know, there's got to be a list out there somewhere of the most iconic, like, one-liners in film history.
This is a top 10 for sure, right?
Absolutely, right. And so the Terminator's like, I'll be back. Which I didn't say that correctly. I'm not even going to try to mimic his voice. It's literally one of the most iconic.
We should all give our reading.
Yes, go for it.
He leans in, he says, I'll be back.
What you got, Egan?
I'll be back.
Easily one of the most recognizable lines in movie history.
It's the line of Schwarzenegger's career, like, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be on his gravestone.
So I read that Schwarzenegger didn't like that because he was having a hard time saying it for whatever reason. He got in a big argument with Cameron. So Schwarzenegger had wanted the line to say, like, I will be back, because he was struggling to say I'll, like, with his accent. And Cameron refused, like, to let him tweak it. But I think that's a testament to Cameron sort of knowing what he wants.
Yes, but again, like, that seems like such a throwaway line. It did just happen to become popular, you know? Like, I can't imagine that when they were in the process or when he was writing that script, he's like, he's like, this is the one, right? This is the line that's going to really, we're going to be talking about this like 30-something years later.
What's funny is I think I heard a thing where Cameron had said, like, he felt like this was a line that, you know, when people saw the movie like a second time or a third time, they would laugh at that line. But then when people watched it the first time, like, there was sort of a chuckle or whatever from the audience when he said it. And he was like, oh, like, I think because people could just guess what the Terminator's version of, like, I'll be back means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I also think this goes back to story versus actors, right? Like,
was that the moment that Schwarzenegger became a star, like, off that line?
When did he? So what came? He made Conan before.
He made
this, right?
Conan, and he had Conan the Destroyer. I think probably came out before this movie came out.
Yeah, which is so weird that Conan the Destroyer came out because he did a lot more acting in those two movies than he does in Terminator. But you would think that in Terminator, the dude just walked off the turnip truck, right? You know, because that's the way they kind of talk about it. Like, he just arrived in Hollywood and he did Terminator, and but he'd actually done some stuff,
He
right?
did a lot of weird shit like TV shows and stuff like that.
So he could actually act.
or he could at least try.
Yeah.
But this was like a star-making thing for sure. But then so was Conan. The first Conan
First
was like a role to make someone a star. You know.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I think I might like Conan the Barbarian slightly more than I like this movie.
Whoa,
That's a hot take.
Yeah.
strong.
I mean, yeah.
Is that on
Yeah.
your Mount Rushmore? We didn't talk
No,
about
I don't
your
think it's on my
Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. But yeah, I just think to me, like Conan the Barbarian is just but I like superhero movies.
Okay,
comic book
that was like
movies.
an early comic book.
Yeah, it
movie
was.
for sure.
Conan was a comic book character, so I like those kind of movies a little
Okay.
slightly more than this kind of stuff, right? So the Terminator walks out, and then they do like this kind of like pan into the deck sergeant. He's like
He's
writing his like goodbye letters to everybody as he's getting ready to retire.
This
and-
is one of the worst continuity errors of the movie too. Is like when the headlights shine on him, you know, and then when the car bursts through, the headlights aren't on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so then the car busts in and it's Arnold like,
Yeah.
he's back, right? I think that's what makes that line though, right? Is not him saying it, but the actual fact that he busted in with the car.
Yeah.
That's what really that nails that line. Okay, so the Terminator gets out of the car and Sarah, she obviously hears the sound like way in the back. Police officers are like freaking out. They're like, what's going on? They start swarming everywhere. And the Terminator just like starts taking them down. Traxler bursts into his office and tells Sarah to stay out of sight. Now, this is really interesting, right? They still are kind of like confused as to what's going on, right? And they kind of know that Reese is there, right? And it feels like they still don't get it that the Terminator is like the bad guy.
I'm with you, man. It's like, oh hell no! Like Traxler should be grabbing Sarah and saying, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
it's
Like
just
that's
so
the
weird.
move.
So the police start shooting the Terminator, and it's like having no effect on him. The Terminator is taking all these guys out with a shotgun in one hand and a machine gun in the other. Yeah, he's badass, right?
It's crazy that Arnold could handle those guns with one hand.
They probably
each.
weren't real, right?
But even if they're just shooting blanks, it's like that was still like the fact that he could handle.
And there's no
a
recoil.
shotgun like a pistol.
Yeah,
crazy.
So the Terminator shoots out the fuse. He takes out the fuse box and the
why I'm not sure.
the police station. Yeah.
Why do you think he did that? Just to make it dark?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe it's an advantage for him. He can see.
Well, because he can see in the dark. Yeah, yeah. Well, he just wanted to
freak everybody out,
confuse the cops, right? So Vukovic tells the detective sitting with Reese to keep an eye on Reese, and of course Reese, seizes this opportunity and gets out of there. He body checks the guy, and then he gets out of his cuffs.
It was like immediate, like keep an eye on him, and then like immediately he was already like disarmed, and taken out. That's funny.
So Sarah hides up under Traxler's desk. All these police officers are armed up with shotguns and assault rifles. Terminator is just blowing these guys. I mean,
he was killing these dudes like as fast as they could pop. It was like some video game.
It was like a video
right?
game, yeah.
And there's not a lot of attention drawn to it in this movie, but he does this thing in the movie. This is the first time I can recall seeing it, where he had like two magazines taped together. You know, where when he emptied one out, he pulled it out, flipped it around, and plugged in the other side.
I didn't even recognize
and that's been in a lot of movies since then, and I didn't really ever notice it in this one before because they don't really draw your attention to it. But
now,
like, that's a badass like soldier.
Now,
trick.
what I think is cooler than that is the new thing they've been doing, where they take the gun and throw it up in the air, and then it lands on the new clips.
Should he have been doing that shit?
That would have been cool. Like if he had thrown both guns up in the air, the clips pop out, and then he falls back onto the new clips, and then he catches them. Then I would have been like, okay, this is my #1 movie of all time right here, right? So Traxler starts to shoot the Terminator from behind, I believe, and the Terminator turns around and kills Traxler, which I think is should have been, not sad, but a bigger moment. But he just blows him away like he's just like one of the cops, like just an everyday cop. Vukovic sees his wounded friend and pops out and starts shooting at the Terminator, but Terminator, of course, blows him away also. So, like, these are two characters that
they were like likable characters.
Yeah, that we had spent time with in the movie, and we got to know their kind of personality. But their death scenes were just unimpressive,
Yeah, there was some stuff I'll mention it as we get to it, but there was more for Traxler that was also cut out. That comes up later, but
it just feels weird that they spent so much time building these two guys up just to have them like die like that.
I sort of appreciate though how unceremonious it is. I feel like in more recent movies, like you get this airtime where there's like some cheesy line that's delivered or like some like faux emotional moment. I'm like, this is a cold-blooded killing machine. These guys, yeah, we fell away for him and they just wiped him off the plate just completely.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. But if that said,
Sure.
I'm still like, it's kind of a bummer.
Should we have had that scene where like Traxler was holding Vukovic in his arms and it's like, no.
Well, yeah, and I guess.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't PCP after all.
And like they didn't start the Avengers because Traxler was killed or anything like that.
No.
So I get that, but yeah, just and I agree with you, Kevin. I think that's what Cameron did. Is I think that he purposely built these two characters up and just had them blown away like they were insignificant because he was trying to make a point about the Terminator.
Yeah,
he didn't care who got in his way. He was just going to kill anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going quiet now. Terminator continues to pace in the halls. He's still looking for Sarah. I still wish we knew how he found out Sarah was there, but it's going to bother me for a minute. But this is not going to bother you as much as this next part, right? So Sarah peeks out from Traxler's desk and sees a silhouette at the door.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, she's like, oh, crap, this guy trying to come kill me, right? She cowers behind the desk and she hears the doorknob rattling and then the glass shatters and it's Reese.
It's a really good misdirect to have him like bust through the glass.
Yeah.
Then we think, oh, it's definitely
because you're thinking it's absolutely the Terminator, which is I'm not a huge fan of the misdirection if it's like that obvious,
Uh-huh.
So it's Reese calling out for Sarah, and Sarah automatically runs to her. So at this point, she believes his story, right?
Oh
Or
yeah.
if she doesn't believe his story, she at least trusts him enough to keep her alive.
I think she's fully bought in by now.
Because she's not seeing the Terminator. She doesn't know. I'm sure she guessed that's what's happening, right?
It's got to sound like it's not going well for the cops out here.
I'm sure because she didn't actually see the Terminator killing all the cops, right?
I hear you though.
So Reese guides her through the wreckage of the police station. I don't know how they got away. Reese is like a survivalist, basically.
That's right. I feel like all of his future training or whatever has taught him how to hide and
I've always
sneak
appreciated
around.
that about Reese. As the Terminator searches the remaining offices, he hears tires squealing outside. So Terminator being a Terminator, he runs out the building and he starts shooting at Reese and Sarah as they speed away.
Now, how did they get a car running so fast? You might ask. That's where there was a scene where they encountered Traxler, who wasn't quite dead, and Traxler was like telling them like, you got to keep her alive, and he gave him his key.
So you're saying this is a scene that they cut out?
Yeah, they cut it out. I think it's even on the DVD. He gives Reese his keys and says, you got to keep her alive, and he gives him his gun also.
And kind of like the
he
story,
believes the story.
Yeah, the story of Reese dies with Traxler, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to be alive to tell that story. So the Terminator walks away from the burning police station. Now, sometime later, Reese and Sarah have run out of gas as they're driving along. Now,
how the fuck did they let that happen? How did they run out of gas? How do they not stop and fill up?
They stole a car.
Yeah, so stop and buy some more gas.
Well, with what money?
Reese has money later to get the hotel room.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He had a handful of cash. You can't.
That hotel room looks like it costs like
yeah, but you
two
can't.
conch shells and a chicken.
You cannot run out of gas in that moment.
Very true.
Like all you've got to do, you're away now. All you've got to do is avoid the Terminator, and you're free.
That is true.
You just can't run out of gas.
Yeah.
Even if you stop and just pump some gas and ditch.
And yeah.
Or tell Sarah, you got to take one. You got to take one for the team here.
Just distract him for 5 minutes.
Entertain this gas station attendant.
Sarah should have had some money. Like she's got to have credit cards.
Yeah, she might have left her purse in the station at this point by now. Like after all the shit that happened. But but they have money later. So
sure. I mean, it's not gas stations of today where you have to put your credit card in and all that stuff. Like
even if it's like carjack someone else and take their car.
Sure. Yeah. So over the radio, they hear the news report about the shooting at the police station.
Yeah, they were talking about this being like the biggest manhunt in California history or something.
Looking for Reese.
No, I feel like now they're looking. I feel like now they're looking for the Terminator.
I think they're still looking for Reese because
the underpants bandit has struck
because
again.
nobody from the police station's alive to say it was the Terminator.
That's true.
So they're still looking for Reese.
Like later on, they have the surveillance footage, but probably this is so short after that they don't know who they're looking for yet.
Sure. So I never got the
So
feeling.
you think it was no survivors left behind in the
No,
station?
I think he killed everybody in the police station. Like
Shit.
literally I think he killed all 30 cops.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I never got the sense that they were running away from just the Terminator. It
They're
always
trying to hide
felt,
from the police.
yeah,
too?
it felt like they were running from the police and the Terminator, right?
I think you're right.
Reese takes out a flashlight and they get a first aid kit from the trunk of the car. They roll the car up into a ditch, which they push the car off of a kind of high.
Yeah, where did they push it
Down
out?
into-
Just onto the bushes or something?
Yeah, like off the side of the road, but they got lucky with the car ran out of gas where it did, right?
Oh, yeah, true. Convenient.
So they take shelter in an underpass and they huddle together for warmth.
I just noticed on this scene that like Sarah's got her jeans tucked into her socks, which I don't know if that was a look in '84 or what.
Yeah.
That was a weird look though, man.
I don't know. I used to roll my pants up, like I don't
tight roll them.
Yeah, tight roll them at the bottom and cuff them over. Yeah, maybe that's what she had.
Maybe.
I never pulled the socks up over it or anything like that. I mean, come on, you know. Sarah asks Reese his first name, and he tells her it's Kyle. She asks what it's like to go through time. He says it's just a bright light. There's a lot of pain. It's probably a lot like being born, which I can see that.
That's an interesting concept or like way to think about it.
Sure.
What it might be like.
Yeah. Although I don't imagine. I don't know. Like, you think being born is painful to the baby?
I bet it is.
Painful though, like physical pain.
I bet it is. You like being shoved through a little tiny opening, right?
Yes, I do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just imagine that it
I've
hurts
never
the
felt
baby.
that was painful either.
No, I imagine that it hurts the baby though.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's longed to see that he's been hit in the arm by a stray bullet in the police station shootout, right? He tells her it's just a flesh wound.
How many times do you think this dude's been shot?
It's merely
in
a
his life?
flesh wound. No,
He's got a bunch of scars on him. Yeah. I feel like he knows. He's just like, oh yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's a human Terminator, right? But so I don't know all those scars that were on his back initially. They didn't look like gunshots. They look like beatings or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I imagine he has been shot before, right? But I think back then, didn't they have like pulse guns?
Yeah, it was those plasma rifles.
Yeah, those. So maybe this is his first bullet, right?
It could be. Yeah, it probably is.
He refuses her request to go take it to a doctor. So she starts to patch him up. So this is like early on where she's starting to become a survivalist herself.
Mhm.
She asks him to tell her about her son, John Connor. Reese says John is about his height. This is so funny.
Big foreshadowing.
Yeah, essentially, Reese is like, yeah, he's about my height. I think he's got the
he
same
looks
hair
exactly
as me.
like me. He looks
we got
a lot
the same
like
eye color. But he says that he's got Sarah's eyes, that you can really trust him. He's got a lot of strength in him. Reese says he'd die for John Connor, which, again, foreshadowing. Sarah asks Sarah asks if she knows who the father is, so I won't tell him to get lost when I meet him. Reese says John never talked about his father, but I think he died before the war.
It's like, man, the foreshadowing. If you once you know how where the story
They're
goes,
going
they're like
hard,
really
right?
laying it all out there.
Exactly.
I'd die for John Connor. Yes, you will.
Sarah cuts him off, saying she doesn't want to hear any more about this. So I'm not gonna lie. I saw this movie when I was young, right? So I wasn't really probably paying attention, but I didn't get that that's what they were trying to say, that Reese was John's dad. I didn't get that the first time.
I think as I've said a few times, like on other episodes, I had recently watched this movie with someone who had never seen it before, and this was like a grown-ass adult, and she wasn't connecting the dots yet either.
Did you
at
get
this
that,
point.
Kevin?
Not when I was young, 100%.
Yeah.
I think but even if you're an adult, I think, and you don't know the story yet, like, it's not so obvious. Like, I had just seen it with someone, and she had no clue until later on, I think, when they were in the hotel room. Like, well, wait a second. Like, she hadn't figured it out yet, even as thick as it feels like Cameron is laying it on.
Sure, and I think that that goes to either my ignorance as a film watcher at the time, or just the brilliance of how he wrote this movie. Like, I just never picked that up, right? And then so it's like you have these twist endings in movies. That was like holy shit, that was the dad, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great ending. It's like a very good and tightly wound plot. I just love it.
Sarah cuts him off, says she doesn't want to hear any more about it. Sarah asks if it was John that sent him back, and Reese says he volunteered for the job. It was a chance to meet the legend, Sarah Connor, who taught her son how to fight, organize, prepare for when he was a kid. Which, yeah, I wonder, like, they probably didn't have plaques because they were in the middle of a war, but was she like a legend? Like, what was the myth of Sarah Connor, like, in the future, do you think?
Yeah, I guess only from what John had told people, I guess. I learned this from my mom or that from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
They must have been like, "Wow, your mom must have been a badass."
Yeah.
I would imagine he would probably try to keep a little bit of that under wraps, though, too, so that they didn't, like, the machines weren't able to connect the dots of that history, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's got to probably try to keep everything as secret as possible.
Because then they would have just killed Reese, right?
Yeah, they could have done that, right?
Or tortured it
Reese.
out of, like, his, like, comrades to be like, we want more specific information. We know y'all know.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So Sarah becomes frustrated. She says she's not tough. She's not organized, and she doesn't want this. She is a person, which is a great plot point. Like, she's like a ordinary person that's just been thrown in this extraordinary event. And she
says, "I can't even balance my checkbook," which is such like a dated concept now. Like, when's the last time you handled a checkbook?
I haven't even paid my AT&T bill.
Yeah.
Reese is like, your son gave me a message to give to you. He made me memorize it. Thank you, Sarah, for your courage through the dark years. I can't help you with what you must soon face. The future is not set. You must be stronger than you imagine you can be. You must survive, or I will never exist. That's pretty powerful stuff right there, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, obviously, John knew who his dad was. And if you really think about it, he sent his dad off
knowing
he would
what would happen. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. So she finishes bandaging his arm, and he's depressed by her first aid work. He suggests that they try to get a little sleep before sunrise. She sits down next to him and asks him to tell her more about where he came from. He tells her that they hide by day, but at night they can move around and wage the war. That's when the infiltrators start to appear. The Terminators were the newest, the worst. And then it dissolves to the ruins of the future. Reese and a squad of soldiers evade an aircraft and enter a hidden base.
I thought, like, again, for the technology and the budget that they had for this movie, like, I think all these shots in the future look incredible. Like, the rear screen projection and everything like that.
A lot of rear screen stuff. Reese warmly greets this dog that's stationed at the door. Has Reese said what dogs are for at this point?
Not yet. So the only little bit we've seen is when the Terminator showed up to kill the first Sarah Connor, there was the little dog out front yapping at the Terminator when he walked up.
Which is just brilliant, right?
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs inside this house. Women and children appear to be in a rough shape. Children are staring at a broken TV, and you kind of think that they're watching TV, but it's actually just like a little fire in the TV.
Was that a little corny, that moment? Or
no.
Do you think you'd be into just watching fire?
No, I don't think it was corny at all. I think it was pretty powerful stuff, right? Because it reminds me of, I don't know if y'all saw this TV show, The Day After Tomorrow, I believe it was.
Not the movie?
The movie, that came out in like the 80s.
No, there was a newer one, right? Where it was icy?
Not that. I think there was a movie that came out in like the 80s or something like that. I think it was called The Day. It's like Jason Robards was in it.
Was it a nuclear war movie? I think I did see that.
Yeah, and so it's like the aftermath of a nuclear war, like in Iowa or Kansas or something like that. And they have scenes like that in that movie where people are just destitute. They're eating Alpo. They're staring at TVs with no screen.
It's like some Mad Max type shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That dog
food. I think that's really powerful that that's their form of entertainment. Like, it wouldn't have. I don't think it would have been as powerful if they had like a puppet show in the background or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it was very depressing.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I think that's
you just had some woman that was just like wailing in the background.
Yeah. Reese takes the picture out of his pocket, and it's the old Polaroid of Sarah.
There's also a weird moment where Reese sort of playfully pointed his plasma rifle at a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, man, that's dangerous, isn't it?
Hey, you got to teach them kids when they're young, right? So Reese takes a picture out of his pocket, and it's an old Polaroid of Sarah Connor, right?
Yeah, that's important.
It's important because we know that Reese talks about her like she's a myth, right? And she's a legend. But when you go to this scene, no, he's been dreaming about Sarah Connor for years, right?
I feel like that picture was like probably the closest thing to porn they had like back then. It was like a picture of a girl
Yeah, man,
who's
maybe.
not like all dirty.
Well, why did he have that picture? Like,
John
why
gave
would?
it to him.
But why?
He doesn't know. I think he even says later he gave me a picture of you. I don't know why, or something. But John, it's weird. Yeah, John's got to get him to be into her.
You think
I
so? That
guess.
was that's brilliant. Like that was John's plan the whole time,
I
is to
think
get
so.
Reese.
He's been grooming him to be the
You
one.
gotta have sex with my mom. You gotta be my dad.
You got to put a baby in there.
That is crazy, man. Yeah. So I was like, why wouldn't John? Because John's not dead at this point. He's still alive, right? That was the
I
whole
think so. Yeah.
point of him going
Yeah,
back.
because John's alive even when Reese goes back.
Yeah, exactly. So why would Reese have a picture of Sarah Connor? Like
John gave it to him a long time ago, I guess.
and just like here's a picture. Like
Here's a picture of my mom.
that would be
That's
so
what's
weird.
it is awkward.
Like yeah, that was like I wouldn't give any
Imagine
guys
if you
a picture of my
Mike,
mom.
Here's
Like,
a picture of my mom. Hold on to it. Like what?
like okay.
You'll know what to do.
They give it back to you. It's all crusty and everything.
He's probably like, here's a picture of my mom when she was young. She was pretty hot, wasn't she?
yeah, that would be
What?
like so you. In a scene that they cut out, Reese is talking to another survivor, and he's like, John Connor's pretty fucking crazy, right?
His mom's a MILF, though.
So a Terminator pushes his way through the door and starts opening fire with this like massive pulse
Yeah, the
gun.
dogs were going nuts.
Yeah,
at the
yeah. I
door
think
when
he
came
shoots a
through.
couple of those dogs, right?
He did.
Terminator lays waste.
That
everybody in the base.
was Franco Columbo.
Yeah,
Like Arnold's good friend, another bodybuilder.
and that's what I was saying. Like, yeah, he wasn't.
But he wasn't tall like
He
Arnold.
wasn't
He was like
Arnold,
5'8" or
but
something.
he was definitely built. Like he
He was
was like
yoked up.
Like
yeah.
if you saw a bodybuilder in Kroger tomorrow, you'd be like, damn, that's unusual, right?
Yeah,
yeah. And so if you're looking for Terminators, if I saw a bodybuilder,
someone
I'd be
that
like,
big, you'd be suspicious.
yeah,
Plus, it's not like these dudes are hitting the gym in like the post-apocalyptic world either. Like you wouldn't have a normal human that was that big.
yeah, but that's how they were being built. And I guess when I said earlier, it's like, well, why wouldn't they build them as like a grandma or like
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
you just wouldn't expect? Like if a grandma walked into that room, other than the dogs
Yeah,
barking at her, but
But they
that
sh-
might not cause suspicion to
you're right.
the survivors.
They
right?
should look less healthy and like robust.
Yeah, it's like
know?
it's kind of like again the Matrix. Like, did the machines create humans to what they thought they should? Like the chicken, did they create chicken how they thought chicken should taste? Did they create humans how they thought humans should look?
Oh, that could be. But they had to like have a frame that could fit around the robot, I guess. I imagine this dude, Franco Columbo's like Terminator, was probably like a T-700 or something. He's like the model before Arnold. Or
Sure,
like
but
that.
the real muscle doesn't come from the bodysuit; it comes from the actual robot, right?
That's true because he's not much bigger than a skeleton when you get down
so
to just the robot.
Yeah, you could have made a 5'8",
You could have been a scrawny dude.
yeah, 120-pound guy. Well, like T2, right? Like he was unassuming, other than he
Yeah.
was dressed as a police officer.
It makes you a more effective
sure.
infiltration unit to look like a normal human as
Yeah.
opposed to like a Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, I guess in hindsight, it looked cool then. I guess.
It still looks cool to
Yeah.
this day, but
Sure. So the Terminator comes in, he's blowing everybody away. Reese tries to take it on, but he gets wounded in an explosion, which is probably explains those.
So do you think this is
Scars
a
in his
thing that
back.
really did happen?
Yeah, I do.
It's not just like a nightmare?
No, I think it really
Okay,
happened. Yeah.
okay.
Reese watches help because he drops Sarah's
The picture. Yeah.
He watches helplessly as the picture of Sarah burns in a fire. Like
Mm.
it's I mean it's powerful stuff, man. Fade to sunrise. Sarah's asleep, and Reese caresses her hair.
Kind of a little like of a creepy thing to do, but
It would have been definitely creepier when they first met, right? But it's only been a day. Am
It's
I
true.
right? It's been a day.
This is the night.
Yeah.
This is the morning after. It's been like 12 hours probably
Holy
since they
cow,
met.
that's a lot of stuff that Sarah's going through, and not even in 24 hours, right?
Yeah,
just
it's
been
probably
a day.
12 or less.
Yeah.
10 hours.
So this is all started when she
Like probably 10 o'clock last night,
Yeah,
and
when she
now we're
got
6 in the morning. Or
stood
something.
up for her date. She went to dinner. She went to the movie. She went to dinner. She found out about the Terminator. She went to the club. She went to the police station. And now Reese busted her out, and now it's the next morning. That's 8 hours.
It's been a busy night for Sarah.
Yeah, it has been. She's got a lot of information, right? Sarah says she's been dreaming about dogs. Reese says, this is where Reese tells, the story about the dogs, says that they always use to spot Terminators, then they wander out into a new day.
This was the moment that the person that I watched the movie with was like, "Oh, wait a second, is he gonna be John's dad?" Like, I think when he was like caressing her hair, and it had seemed a little bit more romantic.
Yeah, I
maybe.
still didn't. Again, it was the kid in me. I still just didn't get it.
yeah.
No, I'm with you. I did not pick up on that as a child.
Yeah, he almost had to hit me over the head. Like, I don't think I got
until like the sex was happening. Even then, maybe.
I was like, well, maybe it could be. Like, you don't have to get pregnant, when you have sex.
I don't think I even knew there was a sex scene until I saw it. Like, not on. I was always watching on like cable.
Sure, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And you probably skip past it or something like that. Yeah. So back at the Terminator's hotel, he scans Sarah's address book for possible leads. It appears the Terminator's flesh is beginning to rot. Flies are buzzing around it. Janitor knocks on the door. It's like an old gruff dude, like with a stogie in his mouth.
That dude looked like he smelled bad too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he could have been smelling himself.
He had that massive like shoulder hair.
Sure. He's like, hey, buddy, you got a dead cat in there or what? Terminator goes into Terminator vision, and he sees all these responses. He's like, fuck you, asshole.
I love that moment.
Yeah, which I feel like that janitor just heard that before, right?
I also feel like it's weird the janitor's like acting like this place isn't already like a dump.
Yeah. That's not the first time he's rolled up on a room that smelled like a dead cat, right?
For sure.
The Terminator finds Sarah's mother in her address book. Elsewhere, Sarah and Reese have...
here's the thing that's weird. So he found the mom in the address book, and it was like Big Bear, which is like up in the mountains outside Los Angeles. But Traxler had earlier in the police station said like your mom's on the way down. Like, I just find it hard to believe that the mom would get down there, see all the carnage,
and then go
right, and then be like, "Well, I'm heading home. Like, I'm gonna go back home."
I thought that was their vacation home.
I don't even know. Yeah, you're right, because he says something about like, "You told me to go hide at the cabin."
Yeah.
Later on, I don't know. It's maybe there's a good reason why they cut some of that shit out, because it sort of doesn't make sense.
Sure.
But if mom did come down and see like
all the carnage and
all
everything.
that shit, I find it hard to believe she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go to the vacation house and hide out because." Whatever.
Yeah, because
like she wouldn't leave town, right? She'd get a hotel room and.
Well, it's not like Sarah told her to. Why wouldn't she?
Except
just
later when they're talking, like she is saying, "You told me to come hide here at the cabin," like a whatever. But it's like, when did that conversation happen?
But I thought that was the Terminator talking to her.
It is, but I mean, I imagine the mother must have told the Terminator that or something.
Yeah, just because then Sarah would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
Mom?
I didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we got ahead of ourselves.
No, that's what this podcast is about, though, right? Sarah and Reese have hitchhiked to this Fleabag motel, right?
The Tiki Motel.
The Tiki Motel. Reese produces like this wad of cash from his pocket. Like, how did he get that cash?
And that's what she said. Like, I don't know, want to know where you got it.
Yeah,
but where do you think? Like, did he mug somebody? Did he must have stolen it?
It was a wad of cash, right? So it was like.
You think he like snatched it off somebody though?
Or he robbed a store?
Yeah, he probably stuck up a 7-Eleven or something.
Yeah. So Sarah gets those to a room while Reese makes nice with a dog.
Oh, that dog was James Cameron's dog.
Was it a German Shepherd?
Yeah, a German Shepherd. It was James Cameron's dog, Wolfie.
Really?
Which you'll remember from Terminator 2 when he makes up the fake name for the dog. He's like, is that Wolfie? I hear Wolfie barking. What's the matter? And it's like, oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Also, this is a good time to mention, like, there's another massive scene that was chopped out. That may seem like they're just aimlessly running from the Terminator, but like there was a scene in there where Reese and Sarah basically said to Reese, like, we should try to stop the war. So
Sarah said it.
Yeah.
Sarah's
like saying, otherwise I'm going to spend the rest of my life like looking over my shoulder for this thing. Like, the best option we could do is try to prevent the war from happening. Like, let's destroy Cyberdyne.
Yeah, because technically it exists at this point, right?
Yeah, like that was the, then that whole idea turned into the entire plot of part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, so they're not randomly wandering. Like, that's why they're so close to Cyberdyne, where they wind up at in the end, is like, because that's where they're going. Even later on in the movie, when they're on the run, they're on the way to Cyberdyne to try to blow up the factory.
Now, let me ask you this. If they stop the war in this movie, right, does the Terminator disappear? Because he's still out there, right?
Does he vanish into the...
Yeah. Because, I mean, even if they stop the war, that doesn't mean...
Reese would vanish too. right?
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that they're safe, unless I don't know how
Maybe
it
that
works. I
one
don't know.
Terminator would stay. I don't know. It's hard to know.
Yeah, so if let's say they theoretically stopped the war, and the Terminator and Reese stayed, they're still on the run for their life, right?
Well, and it's crazy. Like in Terminator 2, they feel like they did stop the war.
Mhm.
And then there's still a Terminator 3, and it's sort of just explained away like you didn't stop it, like you just postponed it a little while. Like maybe you can never really change the future. It's always coming.
I don't know. I just feel like what you do is you go find a group of survivalists, which they kind of do, right?
Mhm.
And they arm up and then they fight the Terminator because Reese knows how to kill a Terminator, right?
He just doesn't have the weapons for it.
Yes, but these
Yeah.
other people would, right? So you get a whole bunch of weapons, grenades, whatever, pipe bombs, which I think they do later, and then you just kill the Terminator because they can't spend the rest of their life always running. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be in Hawaii and they're going to be on the beach chilling.
Terminator's going to show up.
and Terminator's going to show up and kill
That's
them.
what happens in the one that just came out.
Exactly.
Is like John and Sarah are chilling in Mexico, and Terminator walks up on the
Yep.
beach and kills John.
Yep.
Um,
So
I
I
get-
think you have to go. I think you have to be offensive, not defensive. You have to go kill the Terminator.
I think you're right, and I think it's also like though I can see why they cut the scene out because it does turn weird. Like Reese is like Sarah's, saying we got to blow up Cyberdyne, and Reese is saying that's not my mission. Like my mission is just to keep you safe. Like going to try to blow up Cyberdyne is not keeping you safe. And then Sarah is sort of trying to get away from him, and she ends up sort of hitting him, and he pulls a gun on her, and it's just all kind of weird. They're just like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right.
This is all on the DVD.
Yeah.
I
You
need to
check it
borrow
out?
that again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should check it out.
Yeah.
It's like, wait,
Because
what's
I
he
saw
gonna...
the Amazon Prime version of this movie, and they didn't have any of that stuff in there.
And it's like, what? He's not gonna like kill her, right? Like that's crazy. But I think, and there's commentary on that DVD where Cameron's saying basically Reese had become a machine himself, like
yeah.
you've mentioned. Sort
He
of.
already was, yeah,
Like-
basically.
And then he sort of has a mental breakdown where he's like looking around at all the green plants and everything, and is being like, I've never, like, I wasn't supposed to see this stuff. Like, I've never seen anything like this.
Hmm.
And like, it's fucking with his head.
Yeah,
You know,
imagine the
like-
shock of.
And then
seeing
I
that.
think she wins him over and convinces him that like we've got to do this. Like this is the only way to really be sure is
Mhm.
like to try to stop the war from ever happening. So, but it's maybe good for James Cameron that they didn't blow it. They didn't blow his wad in this movie because
Yeah,
they
that-
turned that into a whole other movie.
I was about to say that movie would have been as long as this podcast. So.
Oh wait, but that scene is where she delivers the line about like there's no fate but what we make for ourselves, which becomes like a big line in the second
Sure.
movie. And John is like saying it's the thing that my mother made my dad memorize, but that didn't happen in this movie that we saw.
No,
So-
you got to let me borrow it because I got
yeah, dude, I'll send you home with it tonight.
Reese and Sarah enter this room. It's a basic cheap hotel room with a kitchenette. And I remember Reese asking about that, right? He's
He had wanted
"Make
a one with a kitchen,
Make sure it
yeah.
has a kitchen. Sarah says she needs a shower. Reese says he's going to go out for some supplies.
I feel like nobody needs a shower worse than Reese. though. That dude is like
Does he even know what a shower is?
he's been going around for 2 days like in a homeless man's pants.
No, he's been going around for like 20 years without a shower.
Fact.
That dude needs a shower. Obviously, Sarah at this point totally trusts Reese. And I think she believes that, she's being hunted by something from the future, right? So
Yeah.
as Reese leaves that room, he gives her a gun, which
Why? What good is the gun going to do against the Terminator?
it's better than nothing, I guess. And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, right? It's like
Yeah,
giving her a baseball bat or something like that, but at least it's something, right?
sure.
Later when Sarah gets out of the shower, she's on the phone for mom, explaining that she can't tell her exactly where she is. I hate it when the person that's supposed to be hiding calls their mom or their cousin or their ex-boyfriend or
Right.
I hate when it happens. It's like, you fucking idiot.
You got one job. It's don't let anyone know where you are. Anybody.
And she at this point knows the gravity of all, like how serious the situation is, right?
Mhm.
And she's like calling her mom to like, can't that wait?
I guess she's like wants to say I'm alive, but I can't tell you where I am. And the mom's like, I'm worried sick.
I wish
you told
I-
me to come up and hide out
I-
here at the cabin.
I know that happens in another movie, like another famous scene where that happens. And if I remember it, I'll bring it up later. But
Okay.
man, I hate when it happens. But I also look at movies and I'm like, oh, that's not real. You know, that wouldn't really happen.
So Sarah stupidly gives the number up though. Okay, fine. Here's the number for the hotel.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, obviously, she had to do that when Reese wasn't there, right? Because
Yeah, Reese would have stomped her out.
smacked the phone out of her hand, right?
Or been like, okay, well, we got to leave now.
Or something like that. Or maybe he could
Can't
have
stay here anymore.
lured the Terminator out or something like that. But anyway, so you cut to the cabin where you see a huge hole in the door and it's been knocked off the hinges. Terminator's on the phone mimicking Sarah's mom's voice. I love you too, sweetheart. Terminator calls the number Sarah just gave him and gets the address for the front desk. Now, she's in a cabin in the mountains or the woods, right? She's not down the street, right?
You mean Sarah's mom?
Sarah's mom, right?
Yeah, it's like
she's not
a few
close.
hours away probably, yeah.
So I guess that makes sense because that gives Reese and Sarah time to
And they get the
do
freak
their
on.
do their thing, right?
There was a moment after Sarah hung up the phone that she sort of looked like she
Regret
felt
it.
like something wasn't right about that phone call.
Does she hang up the phone and immediately Reese walks in? Or like soon after? I think soon after, right?
What, that Reese comes
Reese
back?
comes back in the room.
Yeah, it's like right the next
Yeah.
scene, I think.
So Reese has this shopping bag full of random non-food items. Sarah asks, what's that? What's for dinner? Kyle says plastiques, which he describes as nitroglycerin basically, but a little bit more stable.
It was like mothballs, corn syrup, and ammonia. Like, I wonder if that shit really could be used to make something that blows up.
I'm going to say no, because I think it would be highly irresponsible for a movie to put bomb
Yeah.
ingredients out there like that.
Like, I think it happens in Fight Club where he's talking about how to make napalm or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think the book Fight Club has the real recipe, but the movie they changed it up when he's like, it's concentrated like frozen orange juice.
Yeah,
and
like
gasoline or
make
something.
the crazy people go search for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Don't put it in like the most popular movie
Yeah,
ever.
you know, that's
It's
true.
like, do you remember when you were young? Did people like talk about the what was it, the Anarchist Cookbook? Did you ever hear
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I remember that. I remember the title at least.
Yeah, and I feel like that
Is that
was the
the-
place that people would like be like, that's where you can learn how to make all this crazy shit.
So the Terminator's racing towards the motel on a motorcycle. How did he get the motorcycle? I don't stole it right.
Yeah, he must have got it way earlier, like before he went to go see
Sure.
his mom. I'm assuming
Nobody's looking for this guy. Nobody's looking for this guy.
he's leaving a trail of bodies.
This
behind
guy
him.
killed 2 Sarah Connors. He killed
30 cops.
Gail and the boyfriend. He killed 30 cops, not just people, but cops.
and a few people in the nightclub.
Few people in the nightclub, and he is like rolling around like he has got a problem in the world.
Uh huh. You're right. It's a problem.
Yeah. So back in the motel room, Sarah's helping Reese make these pipe bombs with a little fuse, and he's basically showing how to do it.
I don't know where those little lengths of pipe came from.
I don't
You
know.
can
They weren't
buy those
in
at
a
the
bag.
grocery store.
They weren't in the bag.
But that's not the sort of shit you would find at the grocery store.
They don't have a pipe section at Kroger.
I doubt it.
I don't know.
Maybe went to the Ace
You had to go to
Hardware or whatever.
Ace right next door. So later
Oh,
that
wait, so did it ever occur to you guys, why are they making these bombs? Like,
oh no, I
just to fight the Terminator?
I
with?
figured that was just to fight the
'Cause
Terminator.
in the full version of the movie, they're making these bombs to blow up the Cyberdyne plant.
Huh.
That's why they're making the bombs so they can get to Cyberdyne and try to blow up the factory or whatever.
Yeah, so but they don't show that scene, so
Yeah, and they never
automatically-
got there, but it works either way, which is like a
Sure.
testament to how good the film is.
Yeah, so you just automatically assume that he's
It
they're
must be
doing it.
something you can fight the Terminator
Well,
with, I
because-
guess.
And Reese literally says at the very beginning of the movie, like he doesn't know if he has the weaponry to fight the Terminator, so
Right.
he's building something bigger and more powerful to do it. Later at night, Sarah, she's in bed, awake, while Reese stands guard by the window.
I feel like they're both like obviously a little bit horny.
Well, yeah, but I also think they're just like, I can't sleep the night before I have a big test, right?
Yeah,
And
I
these
know.
two people are running from their lives from a Terminator.
Neither one of them has gotten a lot of sleep like in the last 2
Yeah,
days
yeah.
either. Like that's gonna probably come back
So
and haunt
it's
them.
not unusual for them to do that. So Sarah asks if the Terminator will find him, and Reese admits probably, yeah, not knowing that Sarah just gave him the information to
True.
find them. So she's scared, and she says Reese must be pretty disappointed in the legend of Sarah.
she's working real hard to get his attention. like oh,
That's
you
when
must
they
be so
start playing-
disappointed in me. Like some legend, huh?
So that's when they start playing the slow music, right? And
Darrow,
Reese
Darrow,
literally
Darrow,
just
Darrow.
like stops everything. He's like turns around, and is like, "Oh no, not disappointed at all." And
He gives
yeah,
her the thirstiest look you ever saw.
yeah, he's been wanting to hit that for a minute, right? Ever since he had that Polaroid picture.
He should be probably staying focused on the mission until they're a little bit safer, but I don't know that anyone has ever been as horny as Reese must be in this moment.
Has Reese ever had sex before?
No.
Probably not.
I think
right?
it even comes up almost like in their conversation in
Yeah.
a minute, like that there's never been a woman.
Oh yeah, so Sarah asked if there's a woman in the future, and Reese says, "Yeah, they're all good fighters, though." She's like, "That's not what I meant. Is there anyone special?" No, not ever. Never.
Oh
Reese-
yeah, she sort of like it's embarrassing.
Yeah. But
she like acts like she feels so sad for him. Like,
But here's the
never.
thing.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
But that shouldn't be embarrassing to Reese, right? Because he's lived in this post-apocalyptic world. He grew up. He literally was born and raised in that. So like, it's not like he had to go to the prom or the first date or anything. Like he didn't have to experience any of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? So him not having a woman should be like par for the course for him, right?
But almost like you would think in this crazy future, like women should be trying to stay pregnant probably like all the time just to keep the human race going.
They probably are. They didn't cut that scene out.
Maybe Reese did the big orgy scene in the future.
Or Fury Road, they'd have like a cave with a
the
couple
sex
of
cave. It's like that scene out of
sex
the
cave in
Matrix
back.
Reloaded.
Yeah.
They're all just fucking in the cave.
So
Oh my God.
Reese says that John gave him a old picture once, which is so weird.
Creepy.
The one that we see in Kyle's streams, you were young like you are now. You seem like just a little sad. I used to always wonder what you were thinking about at that moment.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. Yeah. I memorized every line, every curve. I came across time for you, Sarah. I love you. I always have. Obviously, I think he loves her. Do you think he's always loved her?
Maybe do the love at first sight type thing.
Yeah, because he's kind of the Manchurian candidate, right? He's been
I feel like he's been groomed and primed.
he's been groomed
and
and primed to go on this mission, right? It's almost, if you think of it in that way, it's almost kind of sad, right?
well, John Connor's been setting this plan in motion like from the first time he ever
Since
met
first
Reese.
yeah, exactly. Because he's always known.
It's weird, and it's also like I know my mom would like just fuck some dude she just met as well. Like Sarah's like that.
She-
I don't know. It's a very. And that was an awkward scene. That was an awkward lines to have to deliver as well.
Well, you're trying to shove a love story into like this action film, so it kind of slows down the momentum a little bit. But it's a necessary scene because it's literally
It gets
what
this- yeah.
it's the whole basis. It's the whole foundation of the movie, right?
What do
The
you-
fact
what-
that Reese is.
I want to hear
the
what
father.
Kevin thinks. What do you think? Like, do you buy the love story in this moment?
I mean, it feels like a little fabricated and a little forced on us, but I'm also like, it always happens in movies that there's like intense, whatever, there's an intense interaction between two people and they end up like whatever, falling in love or falling in lust.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy the like I've always loved you. Like that's seems like maybe a line, but
Yeah, I think it would have sold better if he was sent on a mission and he ended up falling in love with her because
Yeah.
he learned her strength and her beauty and all that instead
Yeah.
of like that's the sole reason he came on this whole trip.
Well, I could see more so that he had like this image of her in his mind because he's been thinking about her for 5 years or whatever.
Mhm.
More so than her just being ready to bone this dude, like who and as you're being chased by like a killer or something, Like,
And
I've heard it said before in movies. It happens all the time where like a woman will get attacked by somebody or have someone trying to kill her or rape her or something like this, and a guy will save her, and then all of a sudden, like her and the guy are hooking up,
mhm.
and it's like, and I've heard women say before, like, then no woman's, even if a dude saved you and he's gonna be the love of your life, like you're not in the mood
At that
to
moment,
get it on
Sure.
in that moment when you just were attacked by somebody.
yeah.
So it's more hard for me to believe that Sarah would be like ready to throw down
Sure,
right now.
yeah. And I can't. So the Sarah that Kyle Reese is meeting is not really the Sarah that he's been hearing about this whole time, right? Because
Yeah.
this is early Sarah before she's learned anything. So unless I feel like John was telling Reese about how strong his mom was, like how she taught him how to become a survivalist, all this stuff. but the Sarah that Reese meets is not that at all. So I don't think he's disappointed in who he's meeting, but she's really not that person, right?
Not yet. Yeah. But I feel like he's just already decided he's in love with her.
Yeah.
Before he ever got here, I guess.
So Reese,
it'd be like if you felt like you were in love with some movie star that you've never met, you know, but then you met them, you might overlook a few things. You know, you'd be like, well, shit, I've already decided you're the one for me.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know.
So Reese is like, I shouldn't have said that.
I felt that delivery. I feel like we've all probably said something to someone and be like, damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
Like, that was a little too much.
Yeah. Sarah comes to him, puts it on him, and it's on.
Yeah. It's real sweaty.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of weird, like very tight hands, gripping hands.
Sure.
Shit going on.
So basically they make love.
It's very 80s sex. Like if there was a decade of like a certain kind of sex, I feel like it's 80s sex.
Does it automatically go into like Red Shoe Diaries territory?
It was not very, like, there was a lot of weird shots where it just looked like they were both uncomfortable in it.
Yeah.
If you think about it realistically, this had to be a really shitty encounter. Like his first time ever.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like this was probably took about 20 seconds. Maybe this whole scene played out in real time.
Sure.
It was like, 45 seconds and it's over.
If he, I can't imagine he's ever had sex, right? And,
yeah, that's what we're thinking.
If he even knows how to have sex, right?
It had to be.
I mean, Sarah being Sarah, she probably helped guide him through the whole process, right? But yeah, so
Stay on your feet, soldier.
So, and having said all that, that's how we end this episode. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Kevin Egan from Philadelphia for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. It's a joy and pleasure.
And thanks to everyone at the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network as well. And if you're loving what you're hearing, check out our own 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger feed. We've got a lot of awesome content there as well that we have not gotten onto the podcast network yet. And check us out next week for the exciting conclusion. We'll be back.
We'll be back.